Just the amount of cards in the hand make you feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Have to have plenty of options here. Going to start off with the one Sobble, the two as well. So interested to see if we do get to see that second Palkia. That's where the window opens up for big opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a tougher start for Hale, right? He does want to start with those Arceus V pretty much consistently, be able to go in early, get those energies flowing, get those Starbursts going turn 2, the Trinity Novas following up as well if he wants to charge up multiple options. Oh, this is a fantastic start though for Caleb. The follow-up of the second Palkia, and of course the Radiant Greninja. No concealed cards though, kind of revealing he maybe doesn't have an energy or he doesn't want to do it this turn. That said, Hisuian Goodra V getting an energy, getting a big charm for Hale, trying to set things up, and he's going to have to ditch 4 cards, including one of those Arceus V-Star and a couple energy to play this Professor's Research. That is a lot of resources committed to getting a better hand. Doesn't look significantly better. He's holding on to a lot of supporters that he can't play this turn, and no second Pokemon. Oh no, he does have the Hisuian Goodra.
Yeah, I think there's a Quick Ball as well.
It's just going to be a pass.
Going to play slow and steady here.
Yeah, well, he knows that there wasn't any energy threat from Caleb in that turn. No Capacious Bucket, so not being able to get those energies, but it's very quickly going to explode for Caleb here. Being able to use that Evolution Incense, head on into the deck. He's going to start pulling the pieces that he wants, and he's going to chain this off very, very nicely. Check the hand, make sure we've got all the pieces we need, and I already see the Drizzile, so it's going to be Drizzile, Shady Dealings, go grab some additional goodies that way.
Goodies.
Yeah, goodies are really important here. Drizzile, Shady Dealings immediately, beautifully sequenced. Irida into the V-Star, the Capacious Bucket into the 2 Energy, so those are going into the hand, and a nice shuffle, beautifully done.
Well done, Caleb. Yeah, this is going to be very telling right here. We'll see at least the concealed cards from the Radiant Greninja trying to help out here. And then the rest of this hand, is there an opportunity to go for a huge Hydro Break? If there isn't, then maybe we see the Palkia V-Star go to the active and just try to get some damage onto this Hisuian Goodra V. I'm seeing a lot of fringe cards that could help in certain spots, but nothing to completely close things out.
Not right now. That concealed cards didn't even help him out. He's holding on to a pair of cross switches, which is pretty irritating, I'll be honest. And there is going to be a scoop up now onto the Radiant Greninja, so he's going for it with a second concealed card. So both the energy from that Capacious Bucket have been used. It's a boss's orders, and another Palkia V-Star. Still not really hitting what he needs for that explosive turn 2 you're talking about, Kyle.
Yeah, we're actually not that far off. We see the scoop up net and the Galarian Zigzagoon in hand. It was really just another energy and a belt, I think, would have been able to seal the deal there. Obviously asking a lot of your Radiant Greninja, but obviously you got to go for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking at Hale's board as well, you've got plenty of time. This is definitely a little bit far away from being able to cause some problems. Yep, there's the scoop up net, and of course the Drizzile goes back down onto the other Sobble, allowing him access to a second use of that Shady Dealings, another Capacious Bucket, another pair of energies as well. So able to get those into play as he needs. He does have the Sobble back in hand, could put that back down, get himself set up neatly for next turn. He seems to be holding on to a lot of options to keep things moving.
Yep, the pieces aren't there for the knockout, but of course getting the damage down early could be very beneficial, potentially dealing about 200. Or you can just take that evolution and work in a nice clean 100 or so.
Yeah, well, he does have some energy in the discard thanks to that double concealed cards from earlier, so he evolves into the Palkia V-Star. The Sobble goes back down, doesn't need to be tilted, doesn't have an ability, but then the third Palkia hits the bench there. That is, of course, going to be the second V-Star onto the Palkia that he got the first turn. There, of course, is the attach from the Star Portal. Those are neatly put in the discard, one onto the bench one, and of course, he's just going to go for it. It's not the biggest amount of damage, but at least there's no damage reduction effects. It actually starts to add up pretty nicely. Of course, if this Hisuian Goodra evolves, can heal, that's going to be a big problem, but honestly, Hale's hand doesn't give him those options.
Yeah, and this is the problem when you don't have that Arceus Star. You're just looking at this Hisuian Goodra that needs to manually charge up over and over again, and you just don't have that opportunity playing against Palkia. They're not going to give you any breathing room.
Yeah, it's 160 damage, so not threatening the knockout, but still a good chunk. It can definitely be healed off. That is something to be concerned about. Nowhere near the knockout, of course, with that big charm in play as well. But the boss's orders hits the discard for Hale along with that quick ball. Hale definitely needs another Pokemon, otherwise things could get a little bit dicey. He's not going to be able to rolling Shell or, you know, potentially rolling Iron this turn, so he's going to have to be careful. And the Avery, the supporter of choice, forcing Caleb into a tough decision. He spent all that time filling up his bench. It's time to thin it back down, reduce the power of subspace as well. So we get through the Radiant Greninja and the Sobble as well.
Yep, and this is a list that features only the 3 Sobbles, so when you see discards like this off of the Avery, yeah, you understand just how impactful these really are. It's going to be a damage cap on the Palkia for likely the rest of the game.
Yeah, that is going to be exceptionally tough as Hale doesn't get another energy down onto the Hisuian Gudra. I think he knows as well that he just, if he went for the slip and trip, he is just going to be able to throw that into the other Palkia V-Star. So not really the most worthwhile, maybe just accepting that this Hisuian Gudra V is going to go down. He is going to have to take a little bit more damage, in the prize race, but then his Arceus V can come up, power up the second one, and play out an end game. He's not going to put down excessive prizes that Caleb can go for with something like that cross switcher, and then he's going to be able to cause a bunch of problems that way. I think this is a very smart game plan, but Caleb's start has been absolutely flawless so far.
That's right. Yeah, we see both attackers ready to go in those Palkia V-Stars, even going to start thinking about the Origin Form Palkia V with the Hydro Break, getting an energy spread over there as well. So you can start to see how the prizes map up. If you take this knockout on the Hisuian Gudra V, then maybe you can take a knockout on one of these other Pokemon before the evolution comes down, and your Hale is really going to be looking for that Arceus V-Star to hopefully Starbirth and get something going next turn.
He's got to get it going. If he gives up these 2 prizes, it's understandable, but then he has to fight back and push himself to an end game where he's not losing another Gudra. He doesn't have excessive Gudras to be throwing away like that, so just has to really rely on this one on the bench, hope it doesn't get caught. There's obviously the Zigzagoon going down for a little damage ping, certainly softening up that Arceus by a whole 1 damage counter, but making it very accessible to get knocked out if that's something he's looking to do. Could obviously get it with a smaller bench and maybe puts the number in range if there is going to be something to help him out, like the Choice Belt. Just makes it those numbers a little bit nicer.
Yeah, usually you see players targeting down the Gudra V, trying to warm that up a little bit. But of course, you got to be wary of that Crystal Cave. So getting the damage onto a Pokemon where that could potentially stick around is always beneficial.
Yeah, and another big attack, another 160 off the subspace swell will be the first 2 prizes of the game, going over to Caleb Rogerson. That Gudra not able to play the game in the slightest. Of course, it goes over to Hale. The Colress's Experiment, that interesting choice that we saw yesterday from him, still being kind of the draw supporter of choice, allowing him to thin some of the useless cards out of the deck and his hand entirely by throwing them in the loss zone. It looks like he's got a pretty tough choice here. I see the double turbo energy. I do, of course, see the Hisuian Gudra V-Star, which is something he's definitely going to want to be looking at, but no easy way, I believe, to get towards that Arceus V-Star. That's something he would have preferred to see if he had to see one of them.
Yeah, that is the one huge piece missing here. Everything else lined up perfectly. The double turbo energy and the Gudra ready to go, but what an unfortunate miss.
Yeah, not able to get that Arceus V-Star out. No access to Starbirth. Does mean, though, that he gets to just charge up with the energy for no damage going back onto that Palkia V-Star. Honestly, the speed of this game now means that this Arceus V is very easy and prone to get knocked out, I think. And then, of course, it's going to be a case of, making sure that this Gudra can win the game for you. But not getting that damage down is absolutely huge and could be a massive, massive problem for Hale.
I think this is a huge opportunity for Caleb. If the Arceus V were to be knocked out this turn, then we know that Caleb also plays Echoing Horn, and the Hisuian Gudra V-Star doesn't need to be knocked out in order to complete this game and take all 6 prize cards.
Well, Evolution Incense, the choice for Caleb this turn, knows he's playing with just this 1 Sobble Drizzile combination, so why not get the full value out of it with a Shady Dealings, being able to go in and get 2 trainer cards. Of course, 1 more than the Drizzile. It is the Evolution, though, so it makes a little bit of sense. But it looks like it's going to be another one of those big turns where Caleb just sequences through a number of cards really nicely off the Shady Dealings, making sure the pieces in his hand are exactly what he wants. Those are, of course, the result of his Marnie the last turn, so a little bit different to the last time we really took a look, but plenty of options. He's going for the Choice Belt and the Irida. Those are the 2 trainers. Of course, the Choice Belt goes to the hand. I imagine the Irida goes immediately into play as well. So that Choice Band could be the big factor here on to this, Palkia V-Star.
Yeah, you'd love to hold that to potentially have that for the Palkia V, so that you could knock out that basic Pokemon that you'll Echoing Horn at one point. But it makes sense that you have to cash in on this opportunity right here. Take the knockout. You have the Manaphy in hand right now, and really you're just starting to set your hand up so you have an opportunity maybe to work in a card like Quick Shooting or something that could help amplify the damage just a little bit more, because we're going to be so close.
Well, that Arceus V and that one ping from the Galarian Zigzagoon is actually huge. It's now on 210 remaining. When you add the Choice Band, you only need to reach for 180. That means 6 bench Pokemon across the board. You get 1 from Hale, 5 from yourself, and that can be a very easy knockout. So there, of course, is the Choice Belt going down. The other Palkias are looking real healthy. And hey, he's going to start the sequence all over again with these Sobbles, being able to make sure that he can keep on using, of course, those very, very annoying shady dealings to keep his hand looking absolutely perfect. Hale really hasn't got in this game. I think he's been really struggling. This is Hisuian Heavy Ball for Caleb. It doesn't look like it's going to be getting him anything of value out of that one. So that one going right back to the prizes. But, you know, at least it's another card out of his hand. He doesn't need it anymore. So just keep on going. There is, of course, as we know, I think they're going back in the same order. It doesn't matter, though. He gets to take 2 more of them as that Subspace Swell, 180, plus another 30 for the Choice Belt, plus the 10 from the Galarian Zigzagoon. Down to 2 prizes. Hale has so much riding on being able to slow and stall this game down with this one Hisuian Gudra V. V-Star.
All in right now here with the Roxanne play, going to try to limit Caleb. We see the 2 Sobbles on the bench, so of course Drizzile is a live card. Irida could be phenomenal in a spot like this, and thankfully for Caleb, the Water Energy was shuffled back in, so having access to that last Water Energy, as we know the other is prized, means that Palkia V is potentially online.
Yeah, that Palkia V could be coming through to do some really nice damage with the Hydro Break. But Evolution Incense is going to be probably just a case of thinning the deck a little bit, I'd imagine, here for Hale. Doesn't really want to commit to anything else, unless he wants to try and pivot into a second Hisuian Gudra, maybe. But I feel like if you just give Caleb the option to boss up something that's not quite ready, I mean, he does only play 1 in the deck, but giving him something, you know, lower health that he could reach for with, like, the Subspace Swell with the Choice Belt available, or even, as you've been talking about, the Hydro Break, that's going to be a problem. But it is just the Rolling Iron for the Hisuian Gudra V-Star. Reduce the damage by a crisp 80 in the next turn as well. So with 6, actually it's just down to 5, obviously. That's only 80 damage that you're sticking on that Gudra every single time, and I don't think Hale is going to give you the extra 20s.
Yep, and this hand is going nowhere, it looks like. I think we saw the Echoing Horn, so plays are maybe lining up if this Palkia V-Star gets knocked out, but obviously don't want to give that information away just yet.
Nope. Well, there is the Echoing Horn in the back, useless battle VIP pass, but it goes back over to Hale. So yes, 80 damage. 110 actually. I didn't count for the Choice Belt, but you know it's pretty easy to start healing some of that off, right? It's not a big issue. You do have access to all of your Hyper Potions still, and you do have access to make sure that you really cause some problems. So an Evolution Incense, once again, Hale going in the deck, not picking out pieces that he really needs, maybe just thinning so he can hit those Hyper Potions later in the game. He does have the Radiant Guard of War in hand, and even if he puts that down, it's still going to force a 7 prize game. So I don't think that's the worst Pokemon to throw onto the bench, because even if it gets bossed up, then guess what? He's just going to take 1 prize, and you're going to be able to switch your Hisuian Gudra back in. But he's decided doesn't want to give up any extra prizes when it's already so close, Ultra Balling it away right now.
Yeah, the Radiant Gardevoir only assists with Hydro Break. It cancels itself out with the Palkia V-Star, so understandable. Maybe he just wants to avoid the fact that it would open up some switching effects with Cross Switcher or something like that. So completely reasonable here, and I do love to see that double turbo energy. That was the one thing that was missing last turn, and still going to be able to take the knockout and hold out for a full value Hyper Potion on the following turn.
Yeah, making sure that you heal off a full amount with that is so important. Irida.
Top deck Irida.
Yeah, the one that he took off the prizes, then got put back in with the Roxanne. He's able to go and find it, so should be able to kind of complete what's going on. The Drizzile, of course, coming through, something that, get the shady dealings going. There are, of course, a bunch of those pieces as well thrown back in the deck from that Roxanne that Hale played earlier. So there's the Pokemon choice, is the Drizzile, and Level Ball to keep things going as well. So it could just be a number of options coming through here. Does, of course, need to get that bench back up a little bit if Subspace Swell is the angle he's going for, but I really do think that keeping one of these Palkias unevolved is going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to cash in on the damage when you can. I think a Hydro Break makes a lot of sense this turn, so I'd like to see Drizzile try to find maybe a Capacious Bucket if that's available. We do see Draining Court, which is perfect. That could get the energy and counter the Crystal Cave as well.
Yeah, the Crystal Cave is really big here for Hale. Being able to do 150 potential healing with a combination of Hyper Potion and a Crystal Cave is really big. But Hydro Break, I mean, the other concern for me is, you know, I know you're really big on the Hydro Break turn. My concern is obviously you then have to switch out of it a couple times because you can't use it back to back. So yes, you're doing more damage, but you are kind of losing out a little bit there. You know, you do have to make sure you hit those switches. Of course, there are a bunch of cross switches still in hand, which with this Echoing Horn could be really, really nasty. You know, if you can pull up something a little bit lower health, just go after it, maybe get... oh, no, he's already committed the choice ban.
There's basically a game ender lined up potentially with the cross-switching play. If you can attack in with this Palkia V, get the game-winning damage on the active Pokemon, and then when you're attacked, you, of course, can use that Echoing Horn double cross switcher, have the quick shooting Inteleon to soften up perhaps an Arceus V, and then you'll have the 200 to clean up as soon as you retreat or use a scoop up net.
Yep, well, it looks like we're just going for digging out the Manaphy from the deck with this Quick Ball. So Caleb, you know, making sure his bench is full is pretty important here. There's the Training Court, bumping that Crystal Cave. It doesn't matter though, Hale does have one in hand. He will be able to get that healing on his following turn. But the Training Court says, yep, I can go grab one of the energies that you got rid of earlier.
Don't show that.
Well, maybe keep that one to yourself, Caleb. That's a big one.
Those are good cards. Yeah. Manaphy coming down, going to just potentially help out with a Palkia V-Star in the future, but obviously just nice to have some additional Pokemon down. And did we just see Ruler Region?
I believe, yes, we did.
You know, that's totally fine too. Honestly, it just speaks to the fact that Caleb has one game plan only, and go for the Echoing Horn.
Yeah, I mean, he's just waiting for it. And he knows that Hale isn't going to be able to really reach for him this turn. This deck with the Hisuian Gudra is lacking that little extra push, right? It wants to play a slower game, so it doesn't have the access to really go crazy. He does have a Crystal Cave in hand. So could get that down. He does have the Hyper Potion as well with the double turbo already attached. But of course, it's not going to be full value. That's only 80 removed. That's so much wasted use of that card.
You know, I think Hale's going to be okay with that, with the blocking of
66% usage.
Yeah, he must have left his calculator at home. He's just going to go for it anyways. And there we do see the Marnie is going to get rid of that Inteleon that we know was going to likely close the game out. And Caleb has to go back to the drawing board. I don't see very much in that hand.
Honestly, that Marnie could really, really slow Caleb down because he had all the pieces that he needs. These aren't looking too hot right now. He does have a Quick Ball. Nothing to grab with that, though. He does have one of the cross switches. I see a Battle VIP pass. I think you just start thinning.
It's double cross switcher, but you can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't get to the Echoing Horn, so I think you just try and thin maybe, or at least get some cards out of the way. But yeah, I think the Echoing Horn double cross switcher is exactly where he needs to be here.
Well, there are no more basic Pokemon in the deck.
There's no room for him either.
I think those were probably the worst cards that could be found off of that Marnie. And Hale could not be happier in this moment, seeing this Palkia retreat.
Yeah, that Palkia is leaving the active spot, so it doesn't want to get knocked out by the Rolling Iron. And honestly, Hale's hand is looking absolutely fantastic. A collection of Hyper Potions there, ready to heal off 120 damage, or 80. Up to you, Hale. Up to you.
We saw the water energy in there, too, so some additional draw with the Melanie. And that lines up perfectly for maybe a full value Hyper Potion later on.
I'll be tracking over the course of this game to make sure that he's getting there. But of course, if it does save you from getting knocked out, I do respect it. I'm not that mean to our players, Kyle. But now 5 energy on there, a little bit overkill for the attack. So it's going to be up to 6. Yeah, why not? Quick ball away. See, just check all the pieces in the deck. Nothing wrong with that. And just keep on going. It's going to be up to Caleb to look at the resources. Because it does get a little bit funky here if we do decide to knock out the Zigzagoon. You do kind of mess up your prize trade, unless you have an option, and there's definitely boss's orders available to try and dig out some of those other single prize options on the bench. I mean, it doesn't matter what you knock out, you still get the benefit of the Rolling Iron, and that's going to cause problems.
Oh, the Echoing Horn, but the energies aren't there anymore.
Yeah, the energy's kind of thrown away. Definitely takes a little bit more build-up. I'm looking at the hand for Hale, though, and I think there's definitely a little bit of time. I'm not seeing a boss's orders. I'm seeing a Colress, the Crystal Cave, just to replace one. But yeah, this Caleb could have been really punished by that earlier Marnie.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely looking at it, yeah.
Well, the decision's been made. Have to start doing something. Have to avoid these prize cards being taken right now, and going to go for the Hail Mary play here, hoping there is no switch. We know it's in the hand.
It's in the hand, yeah. Bad news, Caleb. He does have it. He's going to chorus his experiment first, though. So Hale getting another look at the top 5 cards of his deck. What do we got in there? Quick Balls, Melanies, Path to the Peaks.
You guys aren't boss's orders.
Yeah, none of those look like boss's orders. I do believe he got rid of one early. I could be a little bit mistaken on that, though. And I definitely think that's what Caleb is checking for every time he picks up that discard. Like, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have the boss? It's like,
well, one more card into the Lost Zone away from Mirage Gate, but no, that's not what we're doing here. Gonna see the switch. Here comes Hisuian Kudra V-Star. And Rolling Iron gonna continue on here, making a huge impact as this Pokemon is not going anywhere.
No, and it is setting up some really nasty recovery and defenses every single time. That's now 2 Origin Form Palkia Vs well within knockout range. What do we have off the top there for Caleb?
It's a Drizzile.
Oh, it's not the one.
It looks so nice until it isn't.
Yeah, well, also that one prize earlier on the Zigzagoon makes this game absolutely so tough for Caleb to fight back from. I mean, if you do land any damage on the Hisuian Gudra, guess what? He's going to be able to Hyper Potion it off. But at this turn, he's going to take the lead in the prize count for the first time this game.
Well, we see the boss's orders in hand, so obviously game will be lined up for the next turn. 3 cards in the deck, and Caleb just looking at any straw to grasp for at this point.
Yep. It does have the energy. He can attack, but it's not going to be enough. And yeah, he knows exactly what's coming. Hale's going to be able to either knock that out or knock out any Pokemon off the bench if he throws anything up as fodder. That one prize take on the Galarian Zigzagoon being absolutely huge. And after losing 2 early 2 prizes, Hale Obernolte shows the power of the Hisuian Gudra V-Star.
That is an absolute confidence builder because that looked bad. That was really bad.
Yeah.
There was nothing going right. Eventually had to basically sacrifice those 2 Pokemon early on to get anything going. But sure enough, you just need one Hisuian Gudra V-Star to get the job done. Caleb had the perfect strategy, but the cards were not there as the hand disruption really played a huge role.
I mean, being able to just set it up, keep it going, got a couple of, you got the Hyper Potion down when needed, the Crystal Cave helping out, that's something he seemed to just always have access to. I think Hale was just always in a good position, and of course that Marnie was so punishing because the late Echoing Horn play that was sort of the, the big out and the big win for Caleb took it away from him. He had it in hand, he held it for a little bit too long, and Hale finally found a turn, so you know what? No, that goes on the bottom of the deck. Like, have fun with that.
Yeah, I think you have good stuff. I don't want you to have good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing it pretty cautiously. The fact he felt, the ability to rule the region that turn maybe slowed him down a little bit. Maybe should have just swung for some
I don't know
damage.
if that's just like a senior flex moment or something, trying to disrupt the stats. If you rule the region, you will lose. That's just facts.
Is that now a new fact?
It was nearly a 0% win rate for the longest time.
Yeah, being able to Hydro Break there just would have done more damage. Also would have put a lot more pressure on Hale. I mean, speaking of pressure, you can see how it dissipated in the end of the game there. Hale, after the low value 66% Hyper Potion, didn't take any more damage for the rest of the game. He didn't have to use them. He had them in hand. He didn't even have to dig deep with the Moisture Star.
It's calculated.
Yeah.
Well, these prize cards a little more awkward for Caleb rather than Hale. At least Hale is only going to be working with that one Arceus V-Star, so that could be a little bit awkward in the beginning, but not having much of anything right here is Caleb. We see the Palkia V energy go.
Well, it's once again the Gudra V in the active for Hale Obernolte. Just, you know what? He seemed to make it work last time. The big thing here is he does have to be a little bit careful. I mean, he does have one V-Star prized as well. Has a good amount of prizes going on there. And yeah, it's just attach Arceus Pass as well there. So both trainers off to a slower, more methodical start.
This is where we'll find out what's going on. Energy down. Do we see a supporter?
Let's see. There's a couple energy I saw in there. There's another Palkia. And it's going to be...
Rule the region.
You said it's...
No.
Should we just stop?
Congratulations, Hale.
Yeah, you said it's game over after the rule of the region. That path to the peak could be enough to maybe slow Hale down by taking away a potential Star Burst, which he does have access to. I do see an Ultra Ball in his hand. But does he just have access to something like, I don't know, Crystal Cave?
There's one problem. Rule the region brings the stadium to the hand.
Yeah, well... Hale has the one turn to get there, so...
He drew the Arceus V-Star to start the turn.
Straight off the top.
And there's only one in the deck. We know the other's prized.
Straight off the top as well. Doesn't even need the Ultra Ball, so that Ultra Ball can go get him another Hisuian Gudra V if he needs. But he's probably going to be able to grab it pretty promptly.
Have you heard of these two cards called Switch and Double Turbo Energy? Because they are phenomenal.
I've heard tales of them, Kyle. Yeah, well, there's one of them, and the other one's in the front of his hand, so things feeling pretty good there. He is, of course, going to be able to Trinity Nova, and as we've seen before, once those Gudras get set up, that's going to be nasty. The cool thing about Trinity Nova is I like when you evolve it to the Arceus V-Star, because it also does 200 damage.
Yes. Yeah, this is pretty solid. We do see the turn will continue. The Ultra Ball there as well. Maybe some considerations for finding the V-Star here right now. And going to do that. Very nice here. No easy prize cards going to be allowed for Caleb this time around.
Yeah, well, he is, of course, setting up the energy in the way that he needs to, just to be able to get the big damage down. There is, of course, the damage reduction from the double turbo energy, so 180 down on this Palkia V, and that is looking not too hot when it comes to being able to stick around. Even the evolution here into the Palkia V Star isn't going to save it from another Trinity Nova or even a Rolling Iron from the Hisuian Gudra V Star. So the big thing that is a big concern for Caleb here, where are the Drizziles, Kyle?
Where's anything, Adam? I don't see it.
Yeah,
this is a disaster.
Well, he does get to throw out some attacks, being able to land a little bit of damage with that subspace swell. 2 Pokemon on the bench brings it all the way up to 100. That's not even enough to threaten, as without really going for it, Hale just replies immediately, doesn't play any additional cards, just says, yep, Trinity Nova, I'm going to get the energy set up for incoming Hyper Potion. Go.
Oh my goodness. Well, the best attack that Caleb did was throwing a fist at his opponent, and that is going to be it. A quick closeout here. Hale Obernolte taking the 3 match points and looking to maybe make a top 8 berth in the final round.
This Hisuian Gudra V-Star is looking scary. I mean, the only option that Caleb had to slow him down was that path to the peak, and as you mentioned, it goes to the hand. So, he needed Hale to maybe whiff the V-Star at that point, and instead of that, Hale just drew it off the top of his deck. So, kind of a brisker game too. I don't think we usually see that from the Palkia deck. I think a lot of players have been leaning on it because of the consistency, but that opening hand just didn't allow him enough to fight back in the game. And if he'd have been able to find a fight back, honestly, Hale was still really far ahead. He had 5 energy on a Hisuian Gudra V-Star and was ready to Rolling Iron his way to the end of the game, I think.
Yeah, you can't give the early advantage to Hale in that matchup. It's just way too difficult to come back. So many defensive options there, and didn't really even have to show any of them because there was no